Okay, so we took Steve on a test run to visit my son who is TDY in Louisiana. So it was about a 7-hour drive, I guess. And I went ahead and I packed up the little concept green so we could keep our phones and everything charged. We stayed the night in the Walmart parking lot on the one night, so on the first night, just because we decided to do 3 hours of driving the night before, so we'd only have to do 3 hours of driving in the morning the next day, basically after we got off work. And today is like 65 degrees, they were saying. It's a light breeze in Louisiana, but like I said, we popped out the concept green, which stored the solar generator itself is so little, it just fit in the bottom of a little closet in the back by the bathroom inside Steve, and then of course the panel folds, so just had a little blanket cushioned around it and had it sitting up in the back by the bathroom too, so took up no space. We had no problems getting around it because it's so small. And eventually what I would like to do is to get the flexible solar panels that will go on the top of Steve, and use that with because there's a place for a 12-volt battery inside too. When we were staying at the Walmart parking lot on Thursday night, we used the solar generator to power the lights. Since we don't have a 12-volt battery yet, like I said, and the one that we have that was charged by our Harbor Freight battery, our initial idea was, or our Harbor Freight panels, our initial idea was to pop that in there when we were getting ready to go somewhere, but what we discovered is the battery itself is about just under an inch too big to fit into the compartment that's allowed on the side of Steve, so we'll have to get a smaller sized battery, but hopefully we'll find one that's a smaller size but still some good amp hours, because like I said, we just need just barely an inch smaller, and it would fit nicely in there, and then we wouldn't have to worry about that. And I'd like to run, like I said, some solar panels into that and then we could keep Steve charged all the time. Meet Steve. Steve is a Craigslist find. It is a 1986 Chevy Fiesta camper van. 17-foot, fully equipped. It's got a bathroom, a sit-down shower, a 2-burner stove, a sink. It has holding tanks, a propane tank, a built-in propane tank. Now we knew when we purchased it that it needed a new water heater. So currently we took the old water heater out. We did not get one in time to take the trip that we were taking, so we just covered up the hole temporarily, and but we have the new water heater to go in there. As you can see, Steve was barn kept for the last 10 years. An elderly couple owned him. The husband passed away 10 years ago. Wife had it stored in the barn for 10 years. Daughter took it out occasionally and drove it. Let's go around the front. But it is in literal pristine condition. We took it and had all new belts and hoses put onto it just to be safe, because of the fact that it is 28 years old. It hadn't been driven in the last 10 years. But our mechanic was really astounded at the condition that this was kept in. The owners really kept it in pristine condition. The interior is in pristine condition also. And if you'll see on the top, there's an additional bed on the top. There's a couch, like bench seat couch, that folds down into a bed inside. And it even has a 3-way refrigerator in it. So it's not often that you find a buy like this. And we were very happy because Ronnie had been wanting one for a very long time. So, what does S.T.E.V.E stand for? S.T.E.V.E stands for Short Term Emergency Vehicle Evacuator. Yes. And when I say short-term emergency vehicle evacuator, there are times when the in-laws down the road just get on my husband's nerves, and I have to evacuate him from the situation. So he calls them the toads, and he does that not mean that like frogs. TOADS stands for, it's another acronym, stands for triadverance, I think he calls them, invariant, something like that, triinvariant of astounding dysfunctionality. And so sometimes we have to use S.T.E.V.E to get away from my husband's toads. Or actually, they're my toads. They're his in-laws. And there's the toad escapee. Were you escaping the toads this weekend, dear? Yep. Actually, it was a dual-purpose trip. My son was TDY in Louisiana, and I told him if he was ever within 8 hours, I would come and see him, no questions asked. So he text messaged me on Tuesday, was it? Monday or Tuesday, he text messaged me and said, hey, I'm in Louisiana, and I said we are leaving Friday, and then we actually ended up leaving Thursday. So let's take a little tour. Okay, so the inside tour of S.T.E.V.E. S.T.E.V.E is approximately 17 feet long, I believe, and he comes equipped with a bathroom, a bathtub that has, it's a sit-down tub, with a shower head, and the stuff that we have in here is from a trip. Like I said, we just got back from the trip. Has a nice little closet here where we keep our sewer hookups and stuff like that and little extras, and it's also got a little hanging rack for your clothes. It's got a vent. Let's see, it's kind of a small space. S.T.E.V.E was in absolutely, like I said, pristine condition. I put this cover on it because I didn't want the material, which was otherwise in perfect condition. 1980s colors, but you know, that's okay. I'll take 1980 colors, because if you look at this upholstery from the 1980s, there is not a stain or a dent on it. It's just absolutely amazing what you can find on Craigslist sometimes. Okay. Underneath gives you access to the water heater, which we currently have removed because we are replacing. That was the one thing that was wrong with it. That, and it needed new tires because the tires were dry rotted from having sat all those years. S.T.E.V.E has a good sized refrigerator. It's a 3-way, runs on gas, propane, runs on propane, electric, as in actual hookup, electric shore power, so to speak, and 12 volt. Okay. It has a 10-gallon holding tank under the toilet, I believe. It's got a fresh water tank. Has 2-burner propane stove. And, of course, it's got a little sink here. So, not bad. I mean, it's just got everything. It's got a place, cable hookups. Not that you would really need those. We don't use them because we don't have cable or anything anymore. And when we go, we just, and storage for whatever you need. And it's got this little storage cabinet here, which we stock some butane in and little extras. And then this really nice roll-out pantry, so to speak. So we will be filling that with some Thrive dehydrated food to keep it loaded and ready to go at all times. Right now I've just got some MREs and some canned food in here. Had some Mountain House. We ate some of those on the trip. And then same thing, more food storage up here. This couch, sorry about that sudden movement, the couch actually folds out to a a bed. And when you're traveling, it has 3 sets of seat belts, so you're ready, you're okay there. Has the 2 captain's chairs, again, in absolute pristine condition. If you'll look at that, look at those door panels. They are material, and there is, again, not a stain on them, not a crack in the dash. Absolutely amazing. Well, I think it is anyway. Now, one of the things that S.T.E.V.E. has that some of the other like camper vans do not have, it has the overhead bed here, and this actually pulls out and slides all the way back to this point right here, so you have a nice sized bed. I will say it's kind of like sleeping in a coffin up there. I'm not big on, you know, tight spaces, but I find that it works really well if you keep your head down on this far end, because my younger son, who is 24 years old, that lives with us, he has special needs, and he just does not have the capability to climb up there, so Papa and I sleep up there. But I figure if we have the grandkids with us and son is not with us, then the grandkids will sleep up there, and they're all small enough we won't even have to pull the bed out. But if you needed to deploy anywhere, say, you know, there was just some sort of emergency, the electric went out, who knows, some sort of an emergency. Everything does not have to be an end of the world as we know it. Short-term emergencies happen. Sometimes family emergencies happen where you have to leave, or area emergencies happen, fire, whatever. If we needed to get out, this is now fully packed. We have all the emergency dishes. I also put in here a single burner butane stove, so we can cook outside since this is installed. Propane tanks are actually installed. They're part of the van, so it is kept full. And so ready to deploy at a moment's notice. Of course, you have to have gas in it at all times. So we're really big about, we only drive until we're half full. And then we always take, or I should say half empty, and then we always fill up again. Now, another thing, when we first looked at buying this, we were a little concerned that the gas mileage might be really, really bad, so we did some research into it. Again, had our mechanic check it. He changed out all the belts and hoses, like I said earlier, but mechanically it was in excellent condition, he said. Motor and transmission, you know, excellent, good to go. So he told us the initial gas mileage might not be that great. And of course, in-town driving is not going to be great, because obviously this thing is going to be heavy on a G20 van body. And that's what it is, or chassis. I don't know. It's called a G20, and then it's got the camper conversion in it. So we were a little concerned. We said as long as we got about 10 miles to a gallon, we would be happy, because our retreat property is roughly 200 miles away, a little less, depending on which route you take. And with the 30-gallon tank on this, we figured, you know, hey, if we get 10 miles to a gallon, that's 300 miles. We're not driving towns, you know, town stopping. So, it would be okay. And we will be putting we have a hitch, and we'll put a, what do you call it? A hitch rider, I don't know, I forget what they call it, hitch hauler, on the back. And that way we'll have an extra gas tank, generator, so on and so forth, that we will keep in here. So again, we said we would have been pleased with 10 miles to a gallon, and we were lucky to find out as we drove the gas mileage was getting better, just as our mechanic had told us. We started out with like I think it was 9.9 miles to the gallon. There was some in-town driving there while we took it from one place to another, getting, you know, preparing it, mechanics, tires, all that kind of good stuff. So we did about 84 miles of in-town driving during that time, and then the rest of it was highway miles basically. So about 9.9 I think it was, because we were really tracking it pretty good. And then we tanked up, and after that we were doing pretty much all highway miles on the trip to see my son. And the second tank up, we saw almost 12 miles to a gallon. Third tank up, we saw a little bit more than that. And by the time we tanked up coming home, we saw 13.5 miles to a gallon, which I have to tell you, we were ecstatic because we did not think we would see that type of gas mileage. So it probably won't get any better than that. 14 is probably going to be the tops on it. But I mean, I have to tell you, I think 14 is awesome. So enough talking there anyway. Okay, so I covered the floors in plastic so we wouldn't have to worry about the carpets getting dirty, because like with everything else, the carpets were in excellent condition in here. And we have what we call a Berber, a dog, so he goes everywhere with us, and we didn't want to take a chance of the carpet getting ruined. Not that, you know, I mean, he's not like a wetter or anything like that, but you know what it is, dogs are dogs. So I keep the sofa covered, so because he's an Anatolian Shepherd Great Pyrenees mix. Most of you have seen Burr, so you know he's a big old furry guy. And I think that about covers it. It has a propane heater in here, and it also has AC, so the generator will power the AC if we don't have plug-in. So again, if it was a little bit longer term emergency, we probably would not waste it on AC. But if it was just a short-term emergency and funding and everything else was okay, then yes, we would run an AC to keep us comfortable. So I think that about covers it.